Hey, John here. So after watching this video, you should be able to play this lick. Alright, so I'm gonna break this down in three parts, and we'll start here on the 8th fret of the high E string. And you want to be playing 5, 7, 8. Those are the notes, and we're gonna be doing this in the A minor scale. So if you know that scale, you're gonna be good to go. If you don't know it, you will learn it now. So basically, we're gonna do this pattern. So that would be from left to right, 1, 2, 3. We have 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. It's a classic Yngwie pattern. It's a classic pattern for any type of shred guitar, really. And a good way to get used to this one is, of course, just start doing that and working on that. And then we're going to move this up to the next position. So we're going to have 7, 8, 10. Same pattern though. And what's good about this one is that these two positions, you're going to be working on 1, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 4, which is basically what you're going to be using playing any type of 3-note per string scale, right? So sure, you could use 1, 2, 3, but I think it's good to really be used to using 1, 2, 4 and 1, 3, 4, because that's going to cover a lot of different scales. So we have this. And be a bit careful here with the transition, because it's easy that we get a gap in between this note and this note. And what I try to focus on when I practice this slowly, which I highly suggest that you do, is this. So I'm kind of preparing my pinky by stretching out the hand, but don't do it too much. Just do it as far as you can feel that it's comfortable. So then you have less of a distance for the position shift here. And this is a really good exercise to do. And after that we have 8, 10, 12. So that's going to be the last position for this 6-note pattern. So we have, some people like to play this 1, 3, 4, but pretty much only if your name is Paul Gilbert. I don't see a lot of people, preferring this fingering for the 2 whole steps, but either way works. So I use this on occasion, depending on what comes before and after it. But if you feel more comfortable with 1, 2, 4, go for that. So, and after that, we're gonna go up here. And I mean, you could continue, continue up like that if you wanted to, but in this case, we've done it 3 times. And from here, I just want to change it up, so I go down the scale. And what I'm doing here is basically, if you've been practicing 3 notes per string scales, this is just what you could call the major shape. So the C major shape here, so you should be familiar with this stuff. I think if you're not, like I said, learn this, but also go through all the remaining 6 3-note per string shapes, because that's going to help you a lot in terms of learning the fretboard. So what I'm doing here, I'm not picking anything. So the only note that I'm picking is actually the first one. So from here, we're going to change strings. So we're going to get what's called a hammer-on from nowhere. And what you want to focus on here is that don't try to whack the string too much. Instead, try to just match the note, the sound you got from the previous string. Otherwise it will sound uneven, and then you might try to even that out by really trying to get these notes stronger, and then you're kind of competing with yourself, and it doesn't end up well, because you're gonna be really tense, and that's gonna be really hard to do. So when I'm doing this, I'm really relaxed in my left hand. So the whole thing here, the only reason I can do it is because I am relaxed. Remember when I started practicing this stuff, I was really like trying to muscle through every note, and I couldn't understand how does Steve Vai, you know, do all that stuff and it looks so effortless. I didn't realize that's because it kind of has to be effortless for it to be flowing. So if you feel that it really, you know, it's uncomfortable, you're most likely pushing too hard. So that's one of the biggest things that I found in my own playing, that I was doing quite far into it as well. So it wasn't just like, oh, in the first 6 months, it was like years into it, I realized like, hang on, I don't need to push this hard. So really pay attention to that. It can save you a lot of time. So you go down there. So from this note, we're again going to go into the 6-note pattern. And that's, we're almost done now, so we're here. So you know the pattern by now. And then we're going to go here to 10, and then we're just going to descend this 6-note fragment. So if we put that together, let's try to get a cleaner string changes than I got here. Right, so the challenge here is to not rush through this, but try to keep it in time. And what helps with that, of course, is using a metronome. So I always use a metronome when I practice this pretty much, because the timing here is so important, because it's easy to let your fingers just fly away with you, and it can sound kind of messy if you don't get it in time. But that's also a sound in itself. You hear Satriani use it, you know, with a bit more flow, and it's not necessarily even. But I think if you can do it evenly, you can definitely do it in a more free way as well. So I think working on the even stuff is going to be very beneficial for your overall technique, because this will help your picking as well, because you can't pick fast if your left hand isn't in time. So when it comes to practicing this, I highly suggest that you divide it into sections. So if you had 20 minutes, for example, and you want to work on this, I would not do the whole thing just for 20 minutes and try to get as fast as possible. Instead, I would break it down into 3 sections. In this case, we have this one. So I go up here, so I connect the next section, which will start here. And this is the last section. So we have those 3 sections, and I would work on those separately. And as you can see with all these 3 is that they connect into the next one. And that's really important, because if you only do this one, and then you do this one, and then you do this one, you miss the notes that connect them. So I always emphasize that when I practice. So I'm not sitting there repeating something and then I don't have the connecting tissue, so to speak, and then it's all gonna fall apart at that point. So I do this, I will do 5 minutes here. And just repeat that over and over again, and I will do that with a metronome. So the one that I'm using here is my own Subdivide, it's called. I guess any metronome that you have the ability to subdivide the beat with is good, I think. Especially for this kind of legato practice where you really want to nail the timing. And so on, and then I would go through that for 5 minutes, and this metronome also has a timer built in. And for the next section, I would also add the previous beat, because then I really get that connection. So I would do the last group of 6. So I would go that far. Right, so, and the purpose of that, of course, is to get from this pattern that you've done 3 times already, so your fingers might be really into that pattern, sort of locked in. So you want to be able to go from here and change the pattern up into this descending scale instead. So do that, and after that I will just do the last one. And for the last section, I would do the same thing. I would not start here, even though that's the official start of the section. I would start from the previous beat for the same reason from here, because now I'm in this sort of descending scale mode in my mind. And it's really helpful then to connect that with the change into that 6-note pattern again. So I would do that. So after doing that for 5 minutes, I would practice the whole thing and do that for 5 minutes again. And there's nothing magical about 5 minutes. It's just a way to organize your practice instead of just playing this stuff randomly. If you feel like, oh, 5 minutes is too much for me, well, do 3 minutes then. That would be equally as effective. You'll get a few less reps, so you probably wouldn't get as much progress, but it would still be a really good workout for your left hand. So it all depends on how much time you have and how much time you want to invest in any one thing. But the overall lesson here is that whenever you're learning something that's a bit longer, don't just repeat that mindlessly. Break it down into logical sections and make sure that you can bridge those sections together. So that's super important.